and then creates an execution framework against 4 dimensions. These dimensions are financial, customer, internal process, and learning and growth. Now, when we talk about the financial dimension, the question is very simple. To succeed financially, how should we appear to our shareholders? Okay. When we talk about the customer dimension, the question is, to achieve our vision, how should we appear to our customers? Okay. Now, internal process is to satisfy our shareholders and customers. What business processes must we excel at? And then, lastly, it's the learning and growth, which is that how will we sustain our ability to change and improve? Okay. Now, I'll give you an example also so that you can visualize it. So if the financial metric or financial objective is return on capital employed, the customer outcome can be increasing customer loyalty or on-time delivery of your products. The process part can be improving the process quality or improving the cycle time. And to achieve all of this, you need employees who have the right competencies and right skills. So you would notice that these arrows that are connecting all of these objectives with each other are essentially cause and effect relationships. So for a CFO to think that return on capital can happen without making all of these things happen is not possible. Now, I'd like to also make a segue here into the last dimension of learning and growth. Learning and growth is really about people. Learning and growth is about creating an ability in an organization to embrace change and to reinvent itself. So essentially, learning and growth is about managing people, which is also known as human resource management, HRM. So, as CFOs and as senior accountants or students of accountants, what are the core components of a highly effective human resource management process that you must understand? And my intention is not here to give a lecture on glorifying HR. I'm talking in basic, common daily language. There are 3 simple things that every company must grapple with. Number 1, who gets into the company? So, what's your recruitment strategy? Once they're on board, how you manage them? And then lastly is, are you creating a high-performance culture in your organization? Okay. Now, culture is really the difficult part here. I know the first 2 you hear about all the time. You are in a lot of ways involved in the first 2 parts all the time also. You're actively engaged in recruiting people for your teams. You manage your teams day in and day out, so you understand the importance of it. The culture part, everyone does understand the importance, but no one really is quite sure how to create a winning culture, a high-performance culture. Because culture deals with things which are abstract, values, mindsets, and behaviors. People from HR talk about culture all the time. Everybody nods their heads, but nobody is quite sure how to translate that into the strategy and into a living, breathing example. So, what I will share with you is a very simple definition of a high-performance culture. Okay. By the way, this is a CFO who has realized the importance of a high-performance culture and wants it done by the end of the afternoon. And look at the face of the poor HR guy trying to explain the value of the culture. The CEO of Merck says, the fact is that culture eats strategy for lunch. Okay. There's so much emphasis that is placed on having the right strategy. Not so much emphasis probably on ability to execute the strategy, but almost negligible emphasis on, do you even have a culture of high performance in your organization? Okay. There was a study done by Bain Consulting globally in 2007 in which they asked people, business leaders, questions about culture. 68% of the leaders believed that their culture is a source of competitive advantage. Very good. 65% believe that they needed to change it. 81% believe that an organization that lacks a high-performance culture is doomed to mediocrity. But catch this, fewer than 10% succeed in building a high-performance culture. Fewer than 10%. So I know that basically your jobs and your days are consumed with crunching numbers and understanding numbers and affecting numbers. But the point that I'm trying to impress upon you today is that a bigger part of your company's value is being driven by these things which are not on the financial statements. So CFO of today, a senior accountant of today, needs to champion this process also. It needs to understand what a high-performance culture is made of. So I have a very simple template of a high-performance culture which is called DCOM. Okay? D stands for direction. In other words, we call it mission statements, vision statements, strategies, plans, metrics. All of these things are setting direction in an organization. So, is it established through mission, strategy, values, metrics, plans in your organization? If not, you must do it. Then the next one is competence, skills and knowledge, interpersonal skills, technical skills, work process knowledge related to your industry. Are you fostering it in your company? This is also a very important ingredient of a high-performance culture. Then is opportunity. Do people have required resources, authority, information to take decisions? What is the decision processes like? Is it all bureaucratic? Is somebody looking at it? Is somebody trying to re-engineer it? Somebody trying to improve it? So on and so forth. And then lastly, motivation, which is, again, I think, is critically important and often overlooked. And I'd like to introduce a new concept here, which I'll share with you in just one second, which is the concept of discretionary effort. Now, motivation, the easiest way in my dictionary to explain motivation is people who are not motivated have to do certain things. People who are motivated, they want to do certain things. That's the difference in my book. Now, over the last 2 decades, there's been a lot of buzzwords and a lot of new trends that all of us have seen. So in the 80s, there was a high focus on minimizing cost. So employee was a cost to the organization, and the focus was on cost reduction. Then employee became an asset. So the concept or the fad changed to focusing on maximizing return on your human capital because it's an asset. But now, the latest buzzword in the HR industry is employee engagement. So, has the organization proved itself worthy of the trust of the employee? And this is where the concept of discretionary effort comes into play. Now, if you would notice on this chart, on the x-axis we have time, on the y-axis we have performance. So